Good morning, everyone. Aren't we privileged to be here, in such a relaxed environment, bare feet, shorts? It cannot go any better. I would like to thank Burak and Nick for inviting me. Thank you very much. It's really privileged. I feel sort of honored to be among so many great speakers, and I hope to inspire you this morning with my story. And that story started 10 years ago, exactly this month. I was ready for a new adventure. I was very lucky to have had success with my previous social ventures. But I learned that I'm more a fire starter and I was ready for something new. And then one of my friends told me that I should meet his cousin. And this conversation happened 10 years ago. And when I met this individual, he blew my mind instantly. I was blown away by his story. And that person became my partner. He was born and raised in Africa. At that time, he was 57 years old. He was born in Tanzania, almost next to the Mount Kilimanjaro. And his father was sort of responsible for the massive deforestation in Africa. And already when he was very young, he knew that something was terribly going wrong because he saw massive deforestation on the left and he saw the beautiful nature on the right. And every time when he was walking in the nature, he was looking like the deforestation and saying to himself, you know, this is called development. And he knew that was terribly wrong. Peter became my partner. And Peter was truly unique. Unfortunately, he passed away 5 years ago, but I'm still building on his legacy. And Peter was an inventor, an artist, a true intellectual, and a crocodile Dundee in one individual. And that made him so special. And he learned me so much that is just unbelievable. And as soon as I met him, he showed me his work, like the before and after, because Peter was working on landscape restoration already for 15 years with big success. And he showed me his work in Africa. And as soon as I saw the work, I knew instantly that, you know, when you can transform dry lands into fertile land again, you tackle many pressing issues at its roots, like food scarcity, water scarcity, the loss of biodiversity, migration, and even the climate. And Peter was only focused on the climate. And according to him, climate on itself is not so complicated. It's all about logical physics. And he had the vision that if you bring back large-scale vegetation, you can even bring back rain or even bring back snow. In my first meeting with him, he said that he could easily bring back the original glacier on Mount Kilimanjaro. And of course, that is a mind-blowing idea and very ambitious, but somehow it works. Nature is not really that complicated. And as soon as I met him, I said to him, I would like to be helpful for at least 10 years. And it's now exactly 10 years this month. And for me, time has been flying. And after 10 years working in this field, I can only say that I have the feeling it's only the beginning. And I'm really excited to share a bit about my work. And I created a foundation called Justdiggit. You will see later why I named it like this. And we do two things. We jumpstart landscape restoration programs in Africa. And at the same time, we do a lot on communication. Because we live in such a media-dominated world that I think it's time to really start communicating about the benefits of landscape restoration. Because it's a beautiful solution and it's not really that complicated. Today we live in a society that if the solution is not complicated enough, it cannot be a solution. And I'm going to show you that low-tech, ancient techniques are there to transform our planet into a green, lush field again. And before I start to explain, I would like to show you this map, because this is the status of our ecosystems talking about land. And we heard a lot about seas and oceans and that we have a blue planet, which is true. But we only have 30% left land on our planet. And 30% is not that much. But from the 30%, more than 50% is totally degraded. And it's happening everywhere. It's happening on every continent except for Antarctica. And so it's a global problem. And the processes of land degradation, desertification, droughts are only expanding. And we live now with 7.7 billion, and we will grow maybe to 11 billion. So we need to make sure that we have healthy ecosystems, because you can never have a healthy economy without healthy ecology. I would like to show you a video about Justdiggit.
If we can warm up the earth, we can also cool it down. Together with local partners in Kenya, we have dug 72,000 water bunds so that rainwater can enter the ground, making dry land green again. We've also designed and implemented a few grass seed banks. The results are mind-blowing. More biodiversity, more income, more food, and a cooler land. And all of this in just a few years' time. Our method works. Time to step up and scale up. Next stop, Tanzania. Here we're visiting villages in rural areas with a movie roadshow, triggering entire communities to take action. Together with Lead Foundation, we are educating and activating over 100,000 farmers to restore degraded land by themselves. To raise awareness and to create a grassroots movement, we run sponsored advertising and media campaigns throughout the country.
Tembelea tovuti ya justdiggit.org/Tanzania.
Everyone is in. Farmers, local authorities, religious leaders, celebrities and artists, from international media partners to local NGOs and communities. Together we are creating a landscape restoration movement. Recently we developed an innovative mobile app. Via this app, farmers get paid for restoring their land by people around the world who want to fund landscape restoration. So now the entire world can support us with the click of a button. But there's more, because there's no movement without rhythm. In 2020, we will introduce Raindance concerts. To empower farmers and to bring our story to the world, global and local artists will perform at Africa's most iconic landmarks, but especially in the rural areas that can be restored. From Tanzania to Morocco, and from Kenya to South Africa. We need to act swiftly, decisively, and above all, together. So let's scale up, and let's get this movement started. Cooling down the planet. Justdiggit.
In the world, we have a topsoil problem. And it's happening on every continent. And the drivers of that are desertification, overgrazing, monocultivation, and climate change. So, in a lot of parts, I'm now focusing on Africa, the soil is like concrete. But still, Africa receives lots of rain. I come from the Netherlands. We have 785 millimeter rain per year. Kenya has 630 millimeter rain per year. So that's not really a big difference. But in Africa, it comes in a very short period, like heavy rain. And the fundament of our work is that you should try to manage the rainwater. And basically, this is the fundament of our work. So in order to do that, you need to do something with the soil. You need to open her up. And these kind of techniques have been here for a few thousand years, but somehow they got lost. Africa does not really have a written history. And I think it's time to show the world, and especially many countries in Africa, that those low-tech solutions are relatively simple. So I would like to show you a little bit what we have been doing in Kenya. And I named it Justdiggit because the shovel on itself, it's really the instrument that we need to use. It's a universal symbol. It's old as humanity, but most important, it stands for action, and it is action time. So in Kenya, we've done some great projects, and you see the people doing a lot of work. 120 people have been digging for a year in an area which is bigger than the size of Amsterdam. Here you see that we have dug some earth smiles and waiting for the rain. Here you see it's now totally green and I can barely walk now. So this is just a beautiful example how powerful water harvesting can be. Because as soon as you open up the soil, you help Mother Earth to absorb the water. So in these ecosystems, maybe 2 billion liters of water is falling down in a very short time. And we manage it, we bring it subsurface. So we refill the aquifer automatically. We stop the erosion. You bring back vegetation. And if you do this at large scale, you can even create clouds and rain, which is still our high objective. And to give you a little bit of an insight, I would like to show you a beautiful animation, what really is our high objective.
We lose 12 million hectares of fertile land per year. As a result, our planet is drying and heating up. But 2 billion hectares is restorable, according to scientists. Our system approach is called the Hydrologic Corridor. Each hydrologic corridor is a national program consisting of landscape restoration projects, the locations of which are scientifically determined based on rainfall, vegetation cover, soil type, wind patterns and other factors. Each project consists of rainwater harvesting, agroforestry and climate-resilient agriculture interventions developed in partnership with the local communities. We combine ancient techniques with recent innovations to influence local rains and temperature. We start with infiltration of rainwater to stop flooding and erosion. We complement this with agroforestry and climate-resilient agriculture, thereby replenishing the aquifer. The vegetation returns and the process of evapotranspiration starts again. As projects expand, the vegetation starts to grow towards each other, further repairing the water cycle within the designed areas of land. The large water cycle from the ocean starts interacting with the small water cycle again. This is the Hydrologic Corridor, a system approach based on ancient water harvesting techniques complemented with recent innovations. New vegetation cools the area and takes carbon out of the air. Vegetation is the air conditioning of our planet, because more vegetation means more cooling. Cooling down the planet. Justdiggit.
Thank you. Water harvesting, you can see water harvesting as an automatic way of reforestation. There are beautiful initiatives today like the manual tree planting, but it costs too much time to do manual tree planting in order to do the restoration. And if you manage rainwater, you can do it relatively quick. And as soon as you bring billions of liters of water subsurface, the water also runs subsurface. And as soon as it starts to run to the lowest point, Mother Nature kicks herself back into green. And I'm going to show you a time lapse, because you see some pictures of the project that we did in Kenya, and then you see the time and what happens within a relatively short time. So here you see the buns. And then the first rain have arrived. And here the buds are totally green. And now they start to grow to one another. And the next picture is already back into a drought period again, and it's even more green. So this is really short, like maybe a year and a half. And all the work that we do, at least 10 years, to see the developments. But if you want to have climatological difference, we need to have at least 20 years. And but the benefits can be seen already straight away on the ground. And of course, it also has a cooling effect, and I'm going to show you with this picture. And it's only the start of the vegetation in the area that we have been working. And here you see in the center that the temperature is around 28 degrees, and the land besides to that, it's 60 plus degrees. So of course, vegetation is our aircon machine. And besides the water harvesting, we have implemented grass seed banks, which is a women-led program. And here you see the left, and it was normally just like the right picture. This was also amazing, very successful in a relatively short time. And out of these grass seed banks, the women, they earn about $5,000 per year. So already some big successes. And besides this, we also do fencing. A lot of areas We fence to make sure that trees are able to grow, because wildlife can be really destructive, like elephants. They like to eat a lot of those small trees. And what we basically do in a country like Kenya is to bring back the balance, because those ecosystems are completely out of balance. And I've showed you just some of the techniques: fencing, the water harvesting, and the other one. And based on these successes, I'm very proud to say that we are now applying for big funds, and some big NGOs from the US, they knocked on our shoulder and they saw the work, and now we are working together with them. And in a few months from now, I will hear how many millions we will get from the Green Climate Fund to upscale this kind of work in Kenya. So the grass seed banks, we will implement a few hundred the coming year, and also the water harvesting and the fencing. So finally, after 10 years, we are now having breakthroughs that I was hoping for. And especially when you want to get money from the Green Climate Fund, which is one of the biggest funds on the planet, we as a small foundation will never be accredited to get the funding. Only governments are capable of getting the money, and through 3 or 4 big NGOs. But we are now part of this work together with those big NGOs. We are the restoration department for a few NGOs, and I'm very happy that it's happening. And besides the upscaling, we are also applying for funds to start in Malawi, Uganda, and Ethiopia. And Tanzania, we are also active there. In the Dodoma region. The Dodoma is now the main capital of Tanzania. That's bigger than our country, the Netherlands. And we bring back here 14 million trees. We do a lot of water harvesting. But one of the USPs within this concept is that we train and educate people who become champion farmers. And those farmers, they live in various villages, in completely degraded areas. And they are the one who should try to inspire their village to, to become active and to work on the soil. And this is also very successful. I'm so happy that this is really working, but because in the end, if you want to make changes, it's people who should do the work themselves. So we educate this kind of people, and they know all about the basics on landscape restoration, whether it's water harvesting or farmer managed regeneration techniques. And they go there to the village and they start to try to inform them and to educate them. And besides the people who are doing that, we also started a movie roadshow. So as we speak, every week we go from one village to the other with a movie roadshow with the people who live in their village. And then we create this event, and then the whole village will come to that event because nothing is happening there. I'm really talking about completely remote areas. So when we come into a village, the whole village will come. And then, the idea is to really to inspire them by showing the video, by making sure that the people who are educated are really able to give all the right information. And then you hope that they start to move into action. And that is happening. 50% of the people straight away are moving into action. And here you see, after the first rain, and then, finally it can infiltrate. And then quite soon you see this. And if you do it at large scale, you see this. This is an iconic picture. And I think it's important to let the world know that this is possible. And even scientists already calculated how much we can restore on our planet, which is 20 million square kilometer. And 20 million square kilometer is exactly twice the size of China or Europe, because China and Europe are exactly the same size. And I think this is one of the bigger challenges for humanity, to make sure that we know that we can restore our planet, but that we also try to inspire the world, whether it's governments or corporates or family offices and even the farmers in the field. We need to do the restoration all together. And I think to do that, you need to do campaigning. So this is also very important within our foundation. We try to create campaigns and to spread it in Africa to show the benefits of landscape restoration. And we work with a lot of big media companies who give us media for free. And I also work with a lot of creative agencies to come up with beautiful creative campaigns. So in Kenya and in Tanzania, everyone can see and hear us, whether it's on big billboards, radio, television, and I don't pay a penny for that, because I was able to involve those media companies by saying to them, you know, you can be so powerful in your country to create this green revolution. Why not be supportive to us and, you know, give us some free media space, and we bring then the campaigning to make sure that this green revolution is really starting. And here you see some huge billboards, and this is a radio commercial in Swahili.
Katika jitihada za kufanya Tanzania kuwa ya kijani, shirika la Lead Foundation la mkoa wa Dodoma likishirikiana na shirika la kimataifa la Justdiggit kutoka Uholanzi limeandaa program ya kukijanisha Tanzania kwa kutumia njia.
Okay, I would like to show you this picture because I think this is really important. This is our agenda. And I think that no one really knows about this initiative. This started 3 years ago. It's from the World Resource Institute and the African Union. And this is the AFR 100, which is the African Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative to try to restore 100 million of land from now to the year 2030. And Africa is facing serious issues. They have now 1.3 billion people, and it will double within 30 years. And then later it will grow to 4.3 billion people. And already they have pressing issues. So it's very hopeful to see that all those countries in red signed up to be part of this initiative. And it was more than a year ago that we were on stage at the annual gathering of this AFR 100. And we presented to them that, of course, you know, you have beautiful projects and it's already happening, but we were focusing on the power of communication. Because if you really want to create a green revolution in all those countries, like 28, you need to communicate. So we presented our work and our approach. And I also presented this new concept, which is called the Raindance Project. And after the presentation, many countries were walking towards us who really want to work with us, because they understand that if you want to, you know, create this green revolution, they are ready to start communicating about it, and also to use music and events in order to make it happening. So this green, what you see, is restorable. This is a scientific picture. And of course, I'm not saying that we are here to regreen the Sahara. That's not the case. But so many areas are degrading and becoming slowly a desert, but that can be stopped. So this is the challenge, not only for Africa, but also for Europe. Because the migration waves expected, they will come. No one knows exactly when, but it will come. And it's happening already every day. Maybe 100, 200 people from Africa are trying to go to Europe because they don't have anything. And you can hardly blame them. But if it will double from 1.3 billion to 2.6 within a few decades, they expect within 10, 15, 20 years, millions of Africans that will come to Europe. So it's also a European problem. And why not try to be supportive to help them to create livelihood? And so this is the way I'm trying to build this movement. And I would like to emphasize now a bit on the music and events part, because this is a new idea that came up a year ago. I'm very happy to share something about it. It was my second eureka moment in my life. I'm convinced that it will all happen and it's going to be big and powerful. And I think the world is really waiting for a concept like this, because music can be really, really powerful. And this is a beautiful African proverb, you know, there is no movement without rhythm. And we want to create a movement, and especially in Africa, where rhythm is originated. So I created this, the Raindance Project. And before I start explaining, I would like to show you our first trailer.
We are facing one of the biggest challenges in history. Our earth is drying up. We need to reverse this while we still can. Luckily, the solution is simple. It comes straight from heaven. Rain. If we start harvesting our rainwater, we can regreen our planet. With rainwater, land will become fertile, vegetation will return, farmers will be able to farm again. Nature will heal. The cooling effect will help restore our suffering climate. Don't let our future dry up before our eyes. Join me in starting a green revolution.
Thank you. It's only the first, work in progress. I think within 10 years, there will be events everywhere around the planet, which is named the Raindance Project. And then we were able to really inspire the world that we can restore, that we should restore, and that we will do this together. And I came across the word raindance 2 years ago. My former partner, he was a true rainmaker, and then suddenly I was diving into the shamanic world of rainmakers, and it was really fascinating to me. I saw the word raindance, and then I started to think, you know, a raindance originated out of droughts, and there's so much wisdom with these people, and I suddenly had the idea to make it more alive, because I think it's more relevant in a world like today. So I would like to bring the wisdom from the indigenous people, the shamanic people, to the world, to really give them a stage and a voice, because they are truly one with nature. We think we are connected with nature, but in fact, especially when you live in Europe, I think we lost it. And besides giving them a voice, I also connect them with science and with real projects in the field, because that's what it's all about. And we will start this year in Europe and in Africa, and that will have our focus. But I would like to hand out a franchise model to the east and to the west. And this year we do a test in Kenya. And one of the USPs of this project is that we organize the events in Africa in the most rural area that you can imagine. And it's free of charge. And we would like to give them an experience they will never forget, with local heroes, national heroes, continental heroes, and preferably international artists. And we also do one in Tanzania, Dodoma, and one in Amsterdam. And these events will happen simultaneously. And there will be a magical moment that, maybe during the event, suddenly we'll make a live connection with Amsterdam. So the people in Africa who are at the event will also see that we are in it together, because we have the event happening in Amsterdam, and that creates really a feeling of solidarity. And I think it's really important to create a bridge instead of showing constantly the problems. And this is our growth model. I will organize it biannually, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 2030. And this is the vision. And it's getting there, because I'm having talks with all these kind of organizations, and everyone loves it. So I think it's a matter of time to find the right partners. And some of them are already there, like the content partners on the right. And I think that I have the ingredients to maybe create something like this. I was 16 when this happened, and I will never forget it. There were 2 events happening at the same time. And I think we have the ingredients to maybe create something as powerful as Live Aid was in 1985. And it's no coincidence that the UN declared recently, the 1st of March, that they would like to see that the whole world be involved within restoration, because they declared the decade on ecosystem restoration starting from 2020 to the year 2030. And I already had meetings with them in Geneva and in Nairobi, and they were blown away by this whole concept. So they became our content partner, and it's something that I'm really proud of. And so I would like to show you this, because the Raindance Project needs support, and I'm happy to already have found some support from individuals who believe in the whole idea and that they understand the urgency. We call them rainmakers, and I need more rainmakers, because we need to do this together. You know, if you want to go fast, I should go alone, but if you want to go far, we should do it together. And I think that within 10 years, we have created something unique that really unites the world related to Mother Earth, and that everyone understands that we can restore and we should restore. And I'm really happy that I was able to share you some insight about my work, and I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you.